The group finally stopped after a grueling climb. Sunny was exhausted, but to everyone's surprise, Shifty seemed even worse. His breath was shallow, his eyes unfocused, and he looked feverish. As soon as Hero found a place to camp, Shifty collapsed. For the first time, there were no angry curses, just silence. His chest barely moved, proving he was still alive. With trembling hands, he uncorked his flagon and drank greedily. Hero said,
"Conserve your water."
but Shifty ignored him and kept drinking. Scholar didn't look much better, sweaty, bloodshot eyes, and a grim expression. Sunny, somehow, was enduring the best. As night fell, Hero took first watch. The others drifted into uneasy sleep. When it was Sunny's turn, Hero added more logs to the fire before lying down. The mountain was dark. A crescent moon barely lit the path. Only Sunny's eyes could pierce the shadows. He looked down at the road they had climbed. Far below, lifeless bodies of slaves were scattered across the stone platform. Suddenly, a dark figure crawled onto the platform. It stayed still, then scraped its claws across the ground. A sickening crunch followed as it grabbed a corpse and brought it to its maw. The wind carried the sound of bones snapping. Sunny flinched, sending a small rock tumbling down. The noise echoed like thunder. Below, the tyrant froze, then slowly turned its head looking directly at Sunny. Sunny stopped breathing, petrified. The tyrant just stared. Seconds passed. Then, as if nothing happened, the creature returned to devouring the dead. Sunny whispered,
"It's blind."
Dawn came. Hero had hoped rest would help, but Shifty and Scholar looked worse. Shifty was pale and barely conscious. Scholar said,
"It might be the mountain sickness."
Hero took Shifty's load, giving some to Sunny, then asked, "Did anything happen while we were asleep?" Sunny stared at him for a few seconds, then said,
"The monster ate the dead."
Hero clenched his jaw, then said,
"We need to move. If it finishes with the corpses, we're next."
They climbed higher. The sun burned overhead. Shifty fell behind, his strength failing. Then, a scream. Sunny turned just in time to see Shifty's terrified face before he slipped. He tumbled down, leaving bloody streaks on the rocks. His body finally stopped, broken against a jagged stone. The three of them stood motionless, looking down in uneasy silence. What happened to Shifty didn't come as a shock, but it was still hard to digest. An ominous feeling settled in their hearts, seeing his broken body. It was too easy to imagine one of them sharing the same fate. No one knew what to say until Scholar finally sighed and said,
"It's a good thing that you took most of the supplies he had been carrying."
Sunny glanced at him, thinking that it was a bit heartless but not wrong. Scholar frowned, realizing his mask of kindness had slipped, and hurriedly added in a somber tone,
"May you rest in peace, my friend."
Sunny scoffed internally, thinking to himself,
Wow. What a performance.
he had never trusted Scholar's benevolence for a second. People who act kind for no reason are the ones to be most wary of. Scholar wasn't a fool, which made him something worse. Hero cast one last look down, then said,
"We have to go."
His voice was even, but Sunny could sense something buried beneath it, an emotion he couldn't quite name. Scholar sighed and turned away, and Sunny lingered for a few more moments, staring at the bloodied rocks.
"Why do I feel guilty?" he thought, bewildered by his own reaction. He got what he deserved.
Still unsettled, Sunny turned away and followed his remaining companions. Just like that, they left Shifty behind and continued their climb. The higher they climbed, the worse it became. The wind slammed against them, threatening to throw them off balance with each step. The air was thinning. Every breath felt too shallow, and dizziness set in. It was as though the mountain itself was strangling them. Altitude sickness was not something one could fight. It struck the weak and the strong alike, ignoring their willpower. If someone was unlucky, no amount of endurance could save them. And as if that wasn't enough, the cold was creeping into their bones. The warm furs were useless now. Sunny felt both feverish and freezing, cursing every decision that had led him to this moment. This mountain was not meant for humans, yet they had no choice but to press forward. Hours passed, but they forced themselves higher, desperate to reach the path Scholar had spoken of. Sunny began to doubt that it even existed. What if it had been destroyed long ago? Just as despair threatened to take hold, they finally found it. The path was weathered and narrow, barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. It wasn't paved, just a jagged cut into the black rock, winding like the tail of a sleeping dragon. Hidden beneath patches of snow, it was treacherous, but more importantly, it was flat. Sunny had never been so happy to see even ground in his life. Without a word, Scholar dropped his rucksack and collapsed, gasping for breath like a fish out of water. Yet, despite his exhaustion, there was a slight grin on his face as he said,
Told you.
Hiro nodded, then looked around before turning back to him and ordering,
Stand up. It's not time to rest yet.
Scholar blinked a few times, then pleaded softly.
Just give me a few minutes.
Hiro was about to argue, but Sunny suddenly grabbed his shoulder. Hiro turned to face him and asked,
What is it?
Sunny's voice was quiet but firm as he said,
It's gone.
Hiro frowned, confused.
What's gone?
Sunny pointed down the mountain and said,
Shifty's body. It's gone.
For a long moment, Hiro just stared at him, uncomprehending. Then, realization dawned, and the three of them rushed to the edge of the path. The bloodstains were still there, smeared across the jagged rocks. But the corpse itself was nowhere to be found. Scholar flinched and backed away from the edge, while Hiro's hand instinctively moved to his sword. Their gazes met, and in that silent exchange, they understood the terrible truth. Scholar's voice was barely above a whisper as he said,
It's the monster. It's following us.
Hiro gritted his teeth before saying,
You're right. And if it's this close, we will have to fight it soon.
The thought was terrifying, but Scholar, surprisingly, did not look panicked. Instead, he lowered his gaze and quietly said,
Not necessarily.
Hiro and Sunny turned to him immediately, and Hiro raised an eyebrow.
Explain?
Scholar sighed, then said,
The beast found us in just a day. That means it's either intelligent enough to track our destination, or it's following the scent of blood.
Hiro thought for a moment, then nodded grimly. Scholar gave a small smile and continued,
Either way, we can throw it off our trail and buy some time.
Hiro's voice was sharp as he asked.
How do we do that?
Scholar hesitated. Hiro took a step forward and demanded,
Why are you not answering? Speak.
Scholar sighed again, then slowly, almost reluctantly, said,
We just have to make the boy bleed. Drag him down the path, leave him as bait, and go up instead. His sacrifice will save our lives.
For a brief second, there was silence. Then, in Sunny's mind, two words echoed clearly.
Right on time.
Hiro stood still, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, avoiding Sunny's gaze. The young slave had no idea what was going on inside Hiro's mind. The uncertainty made him nervous. A heavy silence stretched between them as Hiro considered something deeply. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Hiro exhaled and spoke, saying,
I have only one question.
Both Sunny and Scholar froze, holding their breath as they waited for him to continue. Scholar said,
Yes?
Hiro's eyes darkened as he shifted his gaze to Scholar. His voice sharp, he asked,
You said one of us must be sacrificed. Why him? From what I see, you are far closer to the grave.
Sunny almost smirked finally. Someone voiced the obvious. But Scholar was quick to respond, explaining,
Before the first attack, he was already bleeding from a whip. He was drenched in a slave's blood. His cloak is soaked in it. The boy reeks of death.
Sunny's amusement vanished instantly. That logic was hard to refute, Scholar continued.
Keeping him alive will only put us in danger. That's why he's the best choice.
Hiro listened in silence, his expression darkening with each word. Then, he turned to Sunny and said,
That is true.
Sunny's throat went dry, his heartbeat quickening. He tensed, ready to act. But then, unexpectedly, Hero smiled, adding,
Your logic is almost unassailable, but you failed to account for one thing.
Scholar hesitated. Sensing something off, he asked.
And what might that be?
Hero's gaze sharpened as he took a step closer, his tone now filled with an undeniable weight. He said,
I know who you are, Your Grace. I know what you've done. I know why you ended up a slave.
Sunny's breath caught in his throat. A wave of tension filled the air. Hero continued,
Just one of your crimes would be enough for me to kill you. So if anyone deserves to be sacrificed, it's you.
Scholar's eyes widened in shock. He took an involuntary step back, stammering.
But the smell of blood?
Hero's grip tightened on his sword, his voice eerily calm. He said,
Don't worry. I'll make you bleed enough to cover whatever scent the boy carries.
Everything happened too fast for Sunny to react. Hero lunged forward, moving almost inhumanly fast. A sharp cry pierced the air as Scholar collapsed, his leg shattered in one brutal strike. Hero stomped on his other leg, the sickening crunch of bones echoing in the silence. Scholar's scream turned into a desperate, pitiful sob. It was over. Hero looked at Sunny with a calm expression, as if nothing had happened. He said,
Wait for me here.